The Mountain Doctor is a fantastic book about a gentleman doctor by the name of Gain Cannon, M.D. He worked and lived in the mountains of Balsam Grove, North Carolina. It's a beautiful area to this day, one of the strangest places that I have ever been to. Strange military installations, tales of Bigfoot, monsters, Black Panthers, and more. The people of the Grove to this very day are very isolated and, in some ways, not welcoming of outsiders. Before his son, Gain Cannon, moved to the area to take over his father's practice, his father, James, lived in this area. While his son used an old Ford truck to get around, his father, James, used a horse and a mule. James had received a message from a boy in the community about a family close to the parkway that were all very sick. He believed it to be dysentery, so he loaded up his horse and his mule with his supplies, and he headed off straight away. It was dangerous back then. He carried a heater with him and a big iron on his hip for good reason. Black bears, wild pigs, panthers, and the people, some of them wild, feral, and they had already robbed him once. His horse spooked and his mule began to kick up a fuss, and he heard something behind him on the trail. He thought that it might have been one of those that had taken advantage of him before. So he turned, listened, and watched. Suddenly, as if from nowhere, something hit his mule, causing the mule and the horse to bolt. He was carried down trail about 150 yards. He turned around and he saw something. It was larger than any man that he had ever seen, and even from where he was, he could smell it, a horrible smell. But worst of all, it looked like a man. His animals were frightened, but he was even more frightened. But still, as a doctor, he couldn't help but study the beast, and whatever it was studying him. The doctor looked from its face to its hands, and finally, he had enough. He turned his mule to go, and just when he did, the beast broke into a sprint, chasing after him. His horse and his mule soon outdistanced it. He was terrified that he would hit a root or a snag and he would be thrown from the horse, and he would meet the beast. He heard it howl in frustration, and that was not his only encounter.